Hello everyone and welcome to the 4th episode of the Major Region Rundown. Again, these videos serve as information pieces to give you a little bit more information about the strengths and weaknesses of the team from that region coming into Worlds 2025. Today's episode is about the LTA. Now, of course, I haven't watched much of the LTA this year entirely, a little bit of the playoffs, so I've invited Kobe as a guest to give you guys the rundown as I introduce the teams. Let's start with the LTA's first seed, who is FlyQuest for a second year in a row. Sharing time in the top lane is Bwipo and Gekgos. In the jungle, Inspired. In the mid lane, Quad. At AD carry, Masu. And support, Busio. Coming off a top 8 finish at Worlds and an excellent display against Gen G, it seemed that FlyQuest were poised to fully dominate at the domestic level. But a slip up in Split 1 saw them not even make the playoff finals, getting eliminated by 100 Thieves and missing out on first end. Going into spring, the team locked in and took back their throne, finishing first in the regular season. In the playoffs, Cloud9 pushed them to Game 5 twice, but FlyQuest defeated them both times to win the second split and qualify for MSI. At MSI, FlyQuest showed why they're the team that gets NA's fans' hopes up. They clean swept G2 in the lower bracket and once again got very close to getting the better of a top team at an international best of 5, pushing BLG to 5 games.
You're gonna win the game! They lost!
Back in NA, they once again qualified to playoffs as the highest seed and dominated the LTA North regional playoffs, which qualified them to Worlds and the LTA Championship. At the LTA Championship, they beat LTA South's #1 representative Vivo Keyd in back-to-back series without much of a sweat to secure yet another title and lock the first seed at Worlds.
All right, time for the LTA. First up, I would like to talk about FlyQuest, because FlyQuest are clearly our best team, but that does not mean that FlyQuest are this perfect team. They did not dominate, like from beginning to end in games. They usually would focus a lot more on mid-game and late game through team fights and macro as their kind of win conditions. As a team that just dominated and were clearly our best team, they did not have the best lane phases. Lane phase and early game is the area of the game that Mithy, their coach, specifically called out in their post-finals interview as the area that they're really focused on improving for international play. I'd say the lane phase kind of considerations do come from their solo laners. The solo laners actually have the most specific champion pools. Inspired in the bottom lane, they could play everything, but it comes down to the solo laners as far as champion pools that really kind of dictate most of how they're going to craft their comps, especially when you get deeper into Fearless. Quad is probably the most restrictive. We really want to see him on control mages. I mean, he has like a couple of Yone games, but it's definitely, nothing special for them. And Yone is also their most banned champion. But he does not play a lot of, the super exciting, like Akali, Silas, Aurora, type stuff, with a lot of comps being super skirmish heavy and kind of relying on mid laners like that with burst damage, is kind of the one area that FlyQuest have like skirted around. He plays way more control mages, Azir, Orianna, Talia, Victor, Cassiopeia. Cassiopeia is actually a specific pick for him that he has a lot of experience on and it gets banned against him a lot. But it does mean that's kind of what you're expecting when you're playing versus FlyQuest, and that determines a decent amount of how they like to play their games out. Then, of course, Bwipo. Everybody knows Bwipo has fairly specific champion pool, and he has a lot of counter picks, so they do like to get him red side counter pick, but there are a couple key pieces missing that are meta champions. Like the Gwen and the Jax are kind of ones that do stand out. So those are a little bit of a caveat, but like, he plays all kinds of stuff as well. They're willing to experiment a lot with he played the Swain top and Volibear top and stuff like that as well in good positions. But because he also makes a lot of very big plays where, like, as soon as he gets Steric's Gauge, he's gonna throw himself into a team fight and use that shield. Sometimes he gets really tries a little bit too hard and it ends up putting the team in a worse spot because he over engages somewhere. I guess that's the simplest way I could put it, is it seems like he's trying a little bit too hard in those scenarios, but then you also have the super successful ones. So he's definitely a player that determines a lot of how FlyQuest look. Now, I definitely want to talk about the bottom lane overall because Busio, well, he has just skyrocketed in stardom and we're pushing him super hard. Masu as well. This is only Masu's second year in tier 1 play. He just came up through the FlyQuest system, promoted from academy, And I would say, like, I'm not worried about his nerves at all. Even in his first year, then the rookie year last year, he performed really well against international competition. And so people are really excited for him. But he is a very bright star, you know, big future ahead of him, very mechanically gifted. He likes to play very quickly, very fast. And so the bottom lane is definitely a really big part of this squad. Busio has just exploded in just clearly being the very best support that we have in the entire league. His mechanics are better than pretty much all of the other supports, and so he can outplay people a lot. But his attention to detail with how they play around their timings for applying pressure elsewhere on the map, you know, his roam timers as well as his vision play is just top tier right now. Him and Inspired work together really well for their vision setups. Whether it is them setting up vision for FlyQuest to start the objective, or whether it is them attacking an opponent's position on an objective and an opponent's existing vision. They've been very good about working around both of those. He is definitely just risen up to be one of our stars that is basically right next to Inspired. Everybody all around the world is always looking at Inspired. He won the most valuable player of the entire year, but Busio was number 2, and that's someone on his own team. Inspired does a lot of the shot calling. All the coaches and everybody who has previously worked with Inspired also talks about how he leads a lot of reviews. And his view of the game is like very, very strong. And so he's a critical part of this team, both as an individual player as well as a shot caller, which is cool. So we're super excited for this team overall.
Next up is LTA's second seed, who is also Brazil's representative, Vivo Keyd Stars. In the top lane, Boal. In the jungle, Disamis. In the mid lane, Mireyu. At AD carry we have the rookie Morteus, and support LEC champion Trimby. After missing out on Worlds with a second place finish in the CB LoL, Vivo Keyd Stars went for a full build of their new roster, swapping out 4 players and rebuilding around jungler Disamis, promoting 2 players from their academy, and importing LEC support Trimby. It's been a bit of a ramp-up year for the organization. The first split saw them finish in last place and not even qualify for the cross-conference playoffs. Spring went a bit better as the team finished in the top 4, but still a far cry from their goals. Going to Split 3, they acquired Mireyu from Isurus and shot to the top of the LTA South standings, dominating the regional playoff bracket, which qualified them for Worlds and the LTA Championship. While they were a cut below LTA North champions FlyQuest, they did take out 100 Thieves to earn the second seed for the LTA, which means they'll avoid the first seeds in the first round of Swiss stage.
All right. Vivo Keyd Stars, VKS, the number 1 team in the LTA South and the number 2 team in the LTA overall. I would say VKS I like most when they play these skirmish heavy comps also. Miro is definitely the best mid laner in LTA South. I would even say the best player in LTA South when he's on the Aurora, Annie, Akali type champions and they have like skirmish heavy, action packed type of stuff. I think is the best way for them to play at Worlds. I'd say the other big factors on this team, besides Miro, the mid laner is definitely going to be the centerpiece, but also Trimby, him and Disamis working together, the support jungle was very effective. Trimby and Disamis in LTA South, when they were able to link up, good vision control, good setups for objectives, finding pretty creative engages as well, and good looks for their team fights. So definitely jungle and support also pretty critical for them. I would say the other 2, so you've got a rookie AD carry, Morteus, who actually stepped up really big and I feel like has improved pretty significantly since jumping up to tier 1. And even though this international play was just like North versus South, he performed really well under the pressure on the big stage and had, you know, really good Kai'Sa game especially. And Boal, their top laner, is another interesting story where he was basically retired before joining VKS, and VKS went to him in their time of need when they lost Guigo to Furia. And he also had a definite glow up this year and definite improvements for him as well. But yeah, this team definitely looking at them playing aggressively. Another thing that VKS did well versus 100 Thieves specifically, taking them down, was their mid-game swaps. I thought they had some really good points where they set up their mid-game swaps to either tower dive Dokla or get picks as well, even on Quid when 100 Thieves were trying to get their side laning going. And so, yeah, their mid-game swaps, definitely good. One of the big weaknesses that we definitely saw emerge for this team is how hesitant they got when they did not have control. They were giving up so much free space to FlyQuest. So it was easy for FlyQuest to kind of like work around that and not give them the fights that they want, not waste anything unnecessarily over objectives. And then when they didn't want to fight, they were super scared. So that's definitely something that they will have to improve for international play and work on, because can't be intimidated when you're going up against these really big names and big teams. If you're giving up free warding space, then that turns into easy ganks for the enemy team, and then you're not going to be able to get into river to set up your objectives either, and you're going to give up more and more and more. So I think that's definitely going to be a big thing for them. That's why they might want to draft and play for more skirmish heavy and good early games, so they can kind of snowball with confidence and continue to make those types of plays. So overall, I'm excited for VKS on the world stage as one of our LTA representatives and our second seed. I think that they can surprise some people, especially people are going to be, underestimating them. So hopefully they can do some damage. I'm definitely looking forward to it, and I hope we have a good Worlds.
Lastly, we have 100 Thieves, who are going for one last heist before their exit in the league in 2026. In the top lane, veteran and G2 killer Dokla. In the jungle, River. In the mid lane, Quid. At AD carry, we have FBI, and at support, we have Ayla. Coming off of a pretty disastrous Worlds 2024, where the team failed to qualify to the main stage of the event, 100 Thieves retained most of the roster and started off strong with a first place finish in the LTA North Split 1. In the cross-conference playoffs, they beat out FlyQuest and reached the finals, but missed out on first stand as they lost to Team Liquid. The team then had a huge drop-off, almost finishing at the bottom of the standings in Split 2 and being promptly kicked out of the playoffs. Going into Split 3, things kept getting worse, and after 2 series in the pick-and-play phase, 100 Thieves replaced Sniper with top laner Dokla. Going into playoffs in 7th, the team mounted a miracle run with their new top laner, beating 4 different opponents in the lower bracket to qualify to the regional championship. At the LTA Championship, they took down both the 3rd and 2nd seed LTA South representatives in Pain Gaming and Red Canids to qualify to Worlds once again.
All right, up next we have 100 Thieves. So we mentioned Dokla. That's where we should start. In addition to adding Rumble and Scion and a more diverse champion pool to topside, and to allow them to better create more diverse team compositions, he also brought a lot of in-game shot calling and communication. And he said his experience as a coach allowed him a better top-down view and not focusing quite so much on 1v1 and that perspective as well. Even with all that said, Dokla wasn't the main focus of the team. This team still comes down to, at the end of the day, River and Quid are the superstars of this team. They are the highlight players. Quid is the #1 first team All-Pro, the only #1 first team All-Pro that is not a FlyQuest member. He is a melee specialist, but he does play control mages really, really well. I just think that the team overall performs best when they make team comps that have aggressive forms of engage and ability to skirmish early, and Quid is on something that is a pretty high damage champion that has a lot of agency for itself to be able to make a lot of plays. Silas, Akali, Aurora type stuff for Quid really is kind of their preferred style, and he looks for outplays a lot. The team overall, of course, they like to hands check people. They like to, go for fights like that a lot. They still are the most aggressive team. I mean, they literally had the most combined kills per minute in their games in split #1 of any team in the world. But, they have really focused on their objective setups and trying to decide which fights they do and don't want to take, even though with this team, they're almost always going to want to take the fight. They do like to create a lot of these team comps where they have multiple champions that will look for flank angles and try and put extra pressure on your carries. They're a very good team at just spamming resources, to blow those flashes so that they then know that they're going to be able to win this team fight by having some sort of pincer or flank or dive and being able to pull that off. River, as well as the other part of this mid-jungle duo that really is, kind of the brand and the heart of this team. River plays super aggressively. He is very smart. If 100 Thieves ever see you put down vision, he will almost always try and use that against you in very creative ways. He goes for a lot of ganks in timings where people won't expect ganks or angles that they won't expect ganks for. He goes for one-on-one jungle invades a lot and will fight you in your jungle pretty frequently. He as well goes for a lot of these champions that can have creative gank angles. Aggressive style, the Jarvan is one of his longest standing signature champions. I would say the bottom lane is quite interesting. FBI had definitely some rough games. I really felt like he was underperforming, but then as we got later into the season and into playoffs, he really picked it up and was performing super well for them. He likes to play Senna and Smolder a decent amount, some of these stacking champions, as well as a lot of the regular stuff as well. Senna in particular is a very big pick for FBI and 400 Thieves. He stacks the souls very quickly, but I will say he was a big part of, performing well during the surge for this team. Ayla as well had a lot of improvements, especially the engaged champions. I think that should definitely continue to be the focus for him for 100 Thieves. His Rel, Nico, a lot of the engaged champions that are just regular meta for supports. They've had a really good year as far as that. There's just some bloopers, 100 Thieves just as a team, they've got some bloopers. Everybody's got a couple. So it's a team that's super fun because they're always going to be action-packed. And then you can totally expect that they're going to be really good and mechanically gifted. And sometimes they just are going to mess up some of those situations where they try and skill check you. So it's definitely a super fun team to watch. The other thing is that Dokla and FBI are now reunited on this team, and they went to Worlds with a team well, Energy. Maybe I don't have to remind you, Marc, about the Energy versus G2, but Dokla and FBI, they had that miracle run, so it's cool that they're back together, going to Worlds again on this team as well.
As always, I hope you enjoyed the video. Massive shout out to Kobe for giving you guys all the breakdown that you needed. And yeah, stay tuned for more. World starts on October 14th at 10 a.m. CET, whatever time zone it is for you. You got to check it out. And I'll be live on twitch.tv/Caedrel. So I'll see you there because World is going to bang.